Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu alayka al-ashraful anbiya'i wal-mursaleen wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Verily, Allah loves the oft repentant and He loves those who purify themselves. Inshallah, today I would like to just touch upon regarding Tawbah and repentance, and how should we go about in our daily lives utilizing this powerful tool in order to rectify ourselves. And obviously, like we know from the teaching of our tariq and the mashayikh, that enough guidances have been given and enough understanding has been given. It's a matter of acting upon it. So inshallah, before I start, as we all know, the tawbah and what to do. We know that as a human being, as a Muslim, that we all going to err and commit mistakes and fall into sin and error. And the level of sins and error that we fall into depends on a person's the strive and ability to refrain from many of the kabair and the major sins. And this also obviously helps when those who are going through the course of purification and the stages of purification, the much that you have traveled, that's actually how much it helps you, to refraining from and really hold ourselves to account. But nonetheless, as a human being, like I said, and as a Muslim, we all gonna fall victim now and then. So it is not the aim of the mashayikh to say that you become a sinful person, but rather we utilize this technique and the tool of tawbah and to very quickly return back to Him. And by returning back to Him, you become more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As the translation of the verse from Surah Baqarah 222 verse mentioned, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves those who repent, those who do tawbah frequently. So that in itself is an indication that we as a Muslim, as a believer, whatever our strength of iman is and the level of taqwa is, that we're going to err. But there are techniques and ways that we know, inshallah, if we adopt in our life, then it helps us to keeps us in balance, and it's like a mechanism that helps us to then stay on course. So I don't want to delve into too much in terms of the conditions and the shariats. We already know how to do tawbah, i.e., for example, like part of the form and constituent of doing tawbah is obviously seeking, feeling regret for what we've done. Then, leave the sin, right? That very instant that we're actually committing the sin. And then obviously at least make intention that never to do this sin again. And if there's any rights of creation involved, or rights that due to be fulfilled, i.e. qadha, salah and so on, then we should obviously to fulfill that as well. So those are the four basic prerequisites that we can adopt again and again to fulfill the condition of tawbah, and Allah will forgive. But like we know, our mashayikh and of this tariq, they are the master of science of purification, so they really go behind the causes, not just deal with the symptoms, that why someone, why should one fall victim to this, and trying to minimize that. Like I said, you're not going to completely eradicate it, and it's not going to be completely that you become sinless, because that's the quality and the status of the prophets and the angels. But at our own level, we can minimize that as minimal as possible. Like, for example, we know in many food safety and health and safety places that they all do a risk assessment, and they all do like a kosh as well. And to see that, okay, we're going to embark upon this journey or this task, there's obviously some risks involved. So, for example, if a person who works at the heights, climbing up on the ladder and fixing the roof is an obvious risk that there is a chance, no matter if he's done 20 years experience roofing, there is a chance that, he could fall from a high place. But what happens is that we do all this risk assessment, ensure the place we go to, it's actually safe enough, we have right equipment, even if you have to put harness on. So all these are put in place to ensure that that there is a risk, but we've humanly possible, we've identified all the risk, we work towards it so that eventually does not happen, or we don't have any kind of injuries as such because of it. But as a Muslim, or sometimes what happens is we become quite simplistic. We start to blame obviously our own self is to blame, and secondly shaitan or shaitan and other people that are because of this or because of that we've committed the sin. Even, for example, if we blame ourselves, if you really think about it, it's actually an excuse. We're actually looking for a loophole. Oh, it's down to me, it's my fault. Yes, that is, in one respect, it is true, but then that itself is a reason not to really look into why, and inshallah we can discuss that today. So the next step, preliminary step and the foundation, you could say, of Tawbah that we know is those 4 conditions that we do, like a tool that we use to ask for forgiveness. But then, is that sufficient? And if it is sufficient, then why are people still falling victim to it? Again, like I said, our aim isn't to become infallible, but rather want to minimize the effect of it. So then, obviously, if you look at our Tariqa Muhammadiyya book, for example, on page 30, just to illustrate, I'm not going to obviously go through them. We all know this, but just to illustrate the point. So, for example, like it's mentioned also to help us keep us steadfast in repentance, that certain actions we should take then, up to 9, 10, 11 mentioned here. So one of you I will highlight is, for example, like once we've done Tawbah, then we should now look that how do you end up doing this, and cut the means that lead us to it. So, for example, be it is my friend circles, be it is the place that I go and become victim to that is my weakness, or be it a means like, social media, phone, internet, whatever it is, that ends up pushing us to going towards that evil. Then we should try our best to minimize and cut that relationship, or those people that actually then takes us to such environment and we become victim to that. And also then, not that even going deeper, like I said, the mashayikh as such that they actually go, the deeper root causes of why this is happening. So they even said that sometimes we might have outwardly repented, but then inwardly what's happening is that, we still entertain those thoughts of the good feelings of doing the act that we've done maybe many years ago, many months ago, to replay that in our own mind and take some kind of pleasure from this. So really, you've not really repented from this action. It's just that maybe the situation is created such that you're not able to do that act anymore because of maybe certain outlook that you have or certain friend circles you have. So option limited, but inside you still have not let go. You still have that attachment. And what happens, unfortunately, and that sometimes comes back to you and haunts you. Maybe 2, 3, 5, whatever years later, someone think, oh, I thought I've dealt with that problem. How come it's coming back? Now, why does it come back, and all the wisdom and the reason behind it? Obviously, ultimately, is from the izn and the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala this happens. But then we also have to think, inshallah, we can mention a bit more, inshallah, in detail. And another thing is that, obviously, some people then go to the other extreme, think that, oh, I've done too much, and, I'll delay it when I'm older. That's the common understanding of people. Or, for example, I'll do Hajj, or I'll go to Umrah, or the Shab Barat is coming, inshallah. I'm going to ask for all the forgiveness, do my biggest ever amals I ever did on one night stand with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And, inshallah, and they'll be all sorted after that. So, these things are good thoughts in itself, because even if you have hope and, or you have a kind of like a plan, it's still better than having no plan. So we're not like in this, discouraging someone not to do these things, but still, it's very, it's not very wise thing to actually wait for a moment or a month to rectify yourself, but rather Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ever present. He's always existed. He's pre-eternally existed and existing now, and he will exist. And so, the time and everything else, this concept of time and place is only for human being and the creation, not for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He exists all the time, and he's always there. And you always have to turn to him, inshallah. Like I said, mentioned, as soon as you turn to him, he's there for you, inshallah. And that's the only true friend, that no matter what happens, if you turn to him, he's always there to receive you. there's a story someone just mentioned here now, just remembered that once, it's like you could say a metaphor as well, so not take it literally, but just to understand that once he claimed that he had such a closeness and friendship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then he went through this musiba difficulty. So he given an example, that kind of almost complaining to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said that, look, I had a problem and I was walking down the shore, and in the problem I had no friend and you were not there for me. I can only see my own step treading along onto the shores of the sea, and I was struggled really, and I needed your help, and you're not there. If you were there, I would have seen your second step following me as well, helping along the way. So after his complaint, the response came that, oh Banda, it's an analogy, like I said, it's not taken literally, that you think that I have left you and you're on your own, but rather the steps that I see on the ground, it's not your step, it's my step, and I carried you through this way. So obviously he became very shameful in a way, and realized that how close Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, and how he blesses us in every single way, and how he helps us. Sometimes we see it, sometimes we don't, but surely he is with us. So that's something I just want to mention quickly. So inshallah, we mentioned some of these, like I said in the book, is there 10, 11 points that what action we could take to minimize not falling into sin and error. But even our mashayikh, especially one of the mashayikh inshallah mentioned today, his name is Imam Ibn Atullah Askandari. He's one of the mashayikh of Shadili Silsila, one of the prominent shaykh. He's written many treatises and books to guide the murids. He's one of our mashayikh as well, of the ancestor of Sayyidina Abdul Aziz Dabbagh rahimahullah. And what they've done is they're actually gone even into the nth level, gone behind all that, and said, look, okay, even those points we tend to do, but still maybe we don't, first of all, take the first step, which is the 4 things we do to seek tawbah. And then once we do tawbah, maybe we don't go to those points that actually helps us to stay away from falling into victim sins. So what Shaykh Ibn Askandari actually said, rahimahullah, that really what we should really do is that we should actually make every single moment in our life as a moment to repent and turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So no matter how much sin you're doing, so even going to the very basic level now, and then it's slowly building up, saying that even that, every moment you think you're a sinner or you're committing a sin and I'm an evil person, he's saying turn that and use every single moment to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because like I mentioned in the verse of the Quran, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves who repent. So it's like a key or a tool that we have in our heart, in our hand, to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why we know from the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam that he would repeat, for example, the words of astaghfirullah and seek tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more than 70 times a day. That is obviously to teach the ummah, teach people like us that, look, Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam himself is being a ma'asum, free from sins. He used to do this. So then what about you and me, that we should actually more in need to do this and to seek forgiveness. So he said, use every single moment in your life to seek forgiveness. But then he mentioned something more in depth and really at the level whereby you can really then actually start to master this, using this technique to control ourselves and to not to fall victim to it again and again. He said that each time you do tawbah, every moment, so it doesn't have to be like you come to the masjid, you do wudu, or it's a Friday or occasion, or like I said, Ramadan or Shab Barat coming, that every moment that you do seek tawbah, the thing that really helps you and the whole process begins and helps you to then remain steadfast is the technique and the process of reflection. How many times that we've done a mistake or sin, or we say, oh Allah forgive me, I've made a mistake. Oh Allah forgive me, come to the namaz, or 2 rakat salatul tawbah, do ask Allah for forgiveness, do salatul tasbih, go to umrah. All this we do it, alhamdulillah. Our thought is there, but what it is, we're not full-heartedly thinking about the process. It always becomes ritualistic. Obviously, we should all hope to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no doubt. But what Sheikh Iskandari and our Mashaykh is saying is that we should really reflect, as we do in Tawbah, we should reflect, do muraqabah. That part of being when we do muraqabah is this, to reflect. So what does that mean, to reflect? So for example, one of the things that, for example, if you understand from our daily interaction is that when we do a mistake, so let's just give you an example of a workplace, or like we see on the news, that there's a train accident happen, or there's a major accident or major inquiry. What happens is someone done a mistake. Let's say car accident. What do the police do? Or what do you hear in the news report first thing? That, tragic accident happened, and obviously everyone's sorry for it, and there's so many casualties and so on. But at the same time, now police is conducting an investigation, an inquiry as to what really happened. Okay, it's happened, like as a human being it does happen, but let's do inquiry, let's do investigation. So part of the reflection is that you start to investigate. Okay, what's happened? Okay, this mistake I've done. Okay, that's fine. I've done the mistake, but let's just do the inquiry now. Let's probe into it. So part of the reflection we should do is not to lament and say, oh, throw, like it's say in the olden days, throw soil over your face and say, oh, I've done the mistake. Why have I done it? I mean, it's happened. Yes, you shouldn't have done it. We shouldn't have done it. But then now let's inquire now. So part of the reflection of doing Tawbah is okay, reflect. Okay, what happened? Okay, I was doing this happened, and this led me to that. So then after your inquiry and investigation, you'll come to certain weak point or critical point that what led to do this action or this act, whatever we've done. And then you highlight, this is the point where I've actually fallen. So then what I do is normally, as we do evaluation afterwards, for example, we do a meeting, whatever, we do evaluation after. So look, this is the cause that happened. What can we do to remedy this? So what we do is come up with certain recommendations so that this thing doesn't happen. So for example, like in a motorway, someone was doing, let's say, 100 miles per hour, and it caused an accident. So obviously, recommendation, one of them would be is, do not break the speed limit. 70 miles is there for a reason. And maybe then police will go further and put in more, what do you call it? They will put more, injunctions and even laws to ensure that people don't break the law. More penalty fines, or whatever license points you're gonna get. All these are there so that the steps are put in place so that next time this doesn't happen. So our Mashaykh is really saying is that each time we do Tawbah, do really introspect, reflect, do like an investigation. Now it doesn't matter is it a big sin or a small sin. We'll discuss that inshallah later. But we should now really think that what actually happened. So now imagine it's a process. You might think, oh my God, if each time this happens, it's going to take me ages. This investigation to take 6 months, 8 months, and they come out with a report. That's right. But that's obviously with a major thing. But in our own life, it's a tool that if you try again and again, then you become more good at it. Like with anything in life, practice makes you perfect. So each time this happens, you say, look, it's in a way, you're going to hold your own nafs, your own ego to an account. Okay, you've done it. Obviously, it's your desire. I couldn't control you. Let's just go through that. And like, in the normal days, for example, like if you work for a company, you made a mistake and they call you for disciplinary or investigation and you will give you a full report, everything else. There's someone else behind it that holding yourself account, be it the CEO of the company or the senior management, whatever it is. And then they put some actions in place, certain recommendation that, okay, mistake happened genuinely even, that you do not, you do not do this again next time, because if you do that, it is ultimately the company will be in loss. They're going to lose out so much X amount of money. You become very hushiyar, you become very careful, very alert. Okay, I know this happened, and I know what's going to make sure that this will not happen in the future. So what Mashaykh really saying is the key tool that we almost kind of overlook or neglect is that, yes, we do Tawbah, we go through all these motions that almost ritualistically as well, as if it becomes like a habit, although not putting a thought into it, we should really reflect. So that is the real starting point. So for example, now if you go back to this foundation, that you regret what you've done, for example, you leave the scene, you are obviously making that never go back again. Now you understand why all this kind of come as a principle, part of being Tawbah. it starts off from reflection. And so after your reflection, if you still come to conclusion, I don't know what really happened. Yes, I thought about it, but I don't know what the outcome is. I still can't figure out why I've ended up doing this. Then you can use those tools, those 4 parameters which is given, and say, like, check through yourself, okay, that, I don't know why myself, why I've ended up doing it. Well, then, okay, then at least you should do what you should do, leave the sin. At least make intention not to do it again. At least what you should do is have regret, remorse that you've done this action. And fourthly, that obviously if it's to do with the rights of other people and creation, then you have to make plan to actually repay them or ask for forgiveness from them if you can't repay. So like, this mashayikh, they were saying, like, the most beneficial occasion for you is to sit in majlis before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and reproach yourself. So here he's not even saying about do so many tasbih, 100 times, astaghfirullah, do 4 rakat salat tawbah. He's saying that in fact you should sit down and not literally come in the masjid. You could do it while you're driving in the car. Maybe you're a driver. Maybe you go long distance travel that you do. Take that moment out. Then really sit and have that moment with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and really reproach yourself that why this has happened. You should be serious. You become genuine. Almost like, heartbroken. Something like major happens in our life that we don't like, or we know it's wrong, and it happens. We become heartbroken. Oh man, how could this happen to me? Or how could this happen to my family? And you make strong resolve next time that no matter what, I'm going to make sure that this doesn't happen to me again. So with sin and in ma'asiyah and anything that displeases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, really we should actually go through this process. Just give you one example. There's one Sheikh Abu Mashayikh mentioned there, one Sheikh called Sheikh Makinuddin. Very interesting story. He said that he was a tailor. He was a tailor, used to work, as a living. He said in his beginning of his journey, so let's say we've all started the course of purification. So that's also indication to see, like the Mashayikh of the past, they've also gone through this purification course, and we also going through. And then if you want to see the quality and the level of their purification they went through, and us, you can see from listening to this story. He said in his initial days, this is what he used to do, reflect upon, every time he could do sin. Then what he used to do, what he used to do is, he's developed, for example, we do the tongue sheet. He also did the tongue sheet. But what he did is, he developed a technique whereby he used to monitor and write down every single word that he spoke on that day. So let's say we might have spoken, 50,000 words in a day. I know it sounds impossible. Some people it is possible. Amount of stuff that we speak, or not speak and just speak, but in terms of on WhatsApp as well. That's another way of speaking nowadays. Always texting and saying whatever lols and whatever else. Allah knows best. So what he used to do, he used to monitor and note down. Not even if I said something that is sin, he used to note down everything, whether it's good or bad. He used to note down every single day. And in the evening, when he used to come to take his sheet, I'm just figuratively giving an example. He used to go through the list. If he said anything, or he spoke something good, and he worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, recited, did the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he should thank Allah. Allah, it is you, He blessed me for this. And if you would see anything that is, for example, that is against Sharia or reproachable, which is not worthy of speaking, then he should really, reproach and admonish himself that also to why did you do this? This is not allowed. And he carried on doing this, obviously one step to another. We know how the purification system works. Until then, Allah Ta'ala favored him, and he became one of the Abdals, one of the highest ranking awliya. Allah Ta'ala blessed him with that status as well. So obviously, what Allah Ta'ala blesses us is up to him. But what we do is, from our point of view, what can we do to ensure that we actually on course to it? So now we can also reflect, see the Mashayikh of the past, why they become the guiding stars for the rest of the Ummah, is because even in the initial days they were serious about it. They know exactly what they were doing. It's like, we know people are into boxing or MMA, whatever else. And every single fighter, he knows his strengths and his weaknesses. What they do is they train hard, work on the weaknesses, so they turn that weakness into their strength as well. So likewise, everyone we know in course of purification, we have our strengths and weaknesses. And what these mashayikh have done is they really worked on, they've identified a weakness, and they didn't just to pass their eyes over, doesn't matter. It's fine, okay, I'll carry on. They just said, let's deal with it. and how they dealt with it in their own unique ways. Obviously, for us, very simply, just go into the tick sheet and so on. That in itself, if one is serious, that in itself actually solves many of the issues and problems as well. So just to quickly recap of this part, what they said is that first of all, you should really reflect, seek every moment to do tawbah. So the first thing is, every moment, if you realize you're not sin, astaghfirullah, turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in forgiveness. But at the same time, the second thing that you should coin in as well, is to reflect, okay, what actually happened here? Okay, I've done the sin now, astaghfirullah, Allah forgive me, because you are merciful. I will rely on your hope, on your mercy, and hope in you. But what happened? Why did they do this? And obviously, if you find something that you've done anything good in that, then thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then you should really develop that, should be, with this connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in terms of, having this private meeting as well. It is said that, obviously, like we all know, sin is like a fire, and the darkness that comes is darkness. So another very powerful example our Mashaykh gave is that, imagine if sin is fire and smoke in its darkness. Imagine a house which is on fire, like a sin someone committed, and imagine that no fire brigade, no one actually come to put the fire out of that house, and it carried on for, let's say, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, whatever, 5 years, 70 years. What would you? Then the Mashaykh said, like, what would be the state of that house? Imagine it's been burnt for 70 years. They said that is the state of ourselves, that we don't seek tawbah after doing repentance, or after doing a sin, or for example, continuously doing sin upon sin. It's like it's a house. Heart is like a house, and you burn it. You've burnt it with the fire of sin, and darkness is all there. So obviously, that's why there is no connection. We find very constriction when it comes to do ibadah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there's nothing there, because it's been darkened by the disobedience and so on. But dhikr and ibadah is the light, and if you start doing the dhikr and ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the light slowly starts to enter the house, and it purifies it. So that's something that we should also be mindful of. Now, our Mashaykh, like I said, they're like ever going, because shayateen and shaitan, they're always planning how to overcome and how to misguide the Muslims. Then our Mashaykh also, they're very, very sharp, they have intellect and very wise, and they never stopped their guidance, and they never stopped delving into this investigation, or going to the nth level to ensure that a person, even in extreme cases, if he wants to, there's a way out for him. So then even Mashaykh said that, how do we actually struggle against our own nafs and so on. So for example, one thing is, they said, for example, is that you claim, or you want to control your nafs, the ego, the thing that actually drives us to doing evil acts and sins. This is what you like to do. But how can you empower the nafs while you allow your desire to overcome you? While you allow your natural, you could say, the basal desire to overcome you, and you fulfill it, then that's no way of actually controlling your nafs and your ego. You're completely going against it. So even, for example, like ourselves, we're going to course of purification. Yes, we're doing the sheets and everything else, but then we still nurture this ego, or this desires that we have. So let's say, it could be something halal as well, which is good, but, like, for example, in excess, like we know in the sheet, for example, eating in excess as well. So one thing is that what the Mashaykh saying, like, really, before you end up doing a sin, before this happens, and then you go like damage limitations, or let's do investigation. What they're really saying is that if you are in control of yourself, the nafs, then that in itself becomes a powerful tool not to allow yourself to end up committing sins of whatever level. And that is the crux of it here, that we have to really learn to actually grab our nafs to control it. I was watching on the internet, this was some of the a very famous and most successful psychologist, who actually people pay the millions to come and deliver talk. And especially this one person I was watching, he actually delivers talk about people's habits and how to quit smoking or like impulsive habits people have, which end up doing all the wrong things, might be drug addicts and so on. And he said that what we over the years have developed, we actually tell him, and when I heard this, I was so surprised. He said that, look, over the years we have developed a technique. We said that we no longer really push a patient and come to us, so you have to fight this desire that you have. You have to stop quitting, for example, smoking. We do no longer advise in that sense or going against that, because people find it hard, and the rate of success is low. That's what he said, because they do like statistics as well. What we actually over the years realized and come to this understanding is that we teach them this, say that you do not need to suppress this desire that you have. There's no need. Although in the past we did advise and we had limited success, but now we say that you do not need to suppress those thoughts or those feelings or those impulses that you have about doing all these like habits that you have, for example. We simply say that you just have to recognize that it's there. Don't fight it, it's there. That's he's advising this, and I'm listening, I'm saying, I think I've heard this before. He's saying amazingly. He said you don't have to fight it or anything like that. Simply what you should do is recognize it's there. Secondly, he said, also recognize that it's not coming from you. Amongst many thoughts that you have during the day, this is another thought. Just say, okay, you want to quit smoking, and you've done it for 5 days or 6 days, whatever, and now you're craving. It's that withdrawal symptom comes in, you're craving, I want to have that puff of whatever again. And you're dying for it, you want to do anything. Now you think, he's explaining that you think it's you that you want it, but think about, use that technique that, okay, it's a thought coming from another agency, that's what he said. And so it's a thought, I can fulfill it if I want to, but if I don't want to, I don't have to. So it's up to you. And that he just simply put it like that. And he goes, that in itself is such a powerful tool that it gives the person in control you're in charge of. Not that thing, that actually telling you to do something. Or almost you feel as though it's enforcing you to do something. You're still in control. And although in their modern, research and finding, they come to this conclusion. But like I said, why was I so surprised in the sense that they're teaching this only at one, you could say, minute scale of it, and making millions out of it as well from people. And we've got the full package taught by the Mashaykh about this already, this whole training. It's just a matter of, again, use the technique of reflection to bring about these things. So really, we should be in charge in order to control our nafs. No one's saying that you're going to be control nafs means that you're going to be such a Palwan, they're going to grab hold of the lion, and that's it. He's going to, he's not going to allow you to run around everywhere. It's going to be under your forelock. No one is saying that. What they're saying is that you simply understand, okay, our old self is one. We have another one, desire. We have obviously the need to fulfill the need of the ruh, which is us. And you have to recognize, okay, these things will happen in our life. Shaitan is an external agency putting all these thoughts in. Who am I? And that's why the discourse will be here. And do I have to fulfill it? Is there a need? Is there a must? And that's how you slowly then come to the understanding that I don't have to fulfill that. Now, okay, question comes as well while we're discussing this, that what are the signs of a heart that's actually been purified or on the road to purification? So a question could come to your mind, I'm doing the course of purification now. For example, I've done certain stages, stage 2 or whatever, stage 3, or maybe stage 4 now. Some brothers, mashallah. So then, what are the signs? Now, I'm not talking about, like the spiritual experiences and dreams and visions. Okay, that obviously that has its own purpose and fulfills that as well. But in terms of your daily activities, are there signs that show the indication that you're on course? Of course, there are. Mashaykh actually mentioned it. So some of the signs that he says that you're irrigating your heart. Heart is like a land where you grow your tree of closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he says that you actually irrigating your land and the tree well. There are certain signs, and I'm going to mention it and see if we can reflect from a course point of view where it's coming from. So he's saying, for example, like that the heart that has been irrigated properly, that the water is actually water that we use to plant water the plant. Water is the ibadah you do. So there is that need of the water, the desire of the water is there, because obviously plant needs water. And that's your ibadah, your daily practices that you do. That's one of them. What are the fruits of it, of the tree? Fruits are the good states. I'm not again talking about your spiritual experience, your states in terms of the thought process you go through. For example, now let's just imagine. We know the third stage of purification and the four states explained. Everyone is aware of that, yes? For example, like if you're in a state of heedlessness, a state of disobedience, what should be the reaction? If you're in a state of obedience, what should be the reaction? So these are the states human beings go through. So when you go through any of these states within yourself, what are the states? Is it inclining more towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all the time? Or you're completely bereft and absent and you're more like, constricted, annoyed, everything else happening around your life and everything else. That's an indication as well that you're going through experience, that everyone will go through experience. It's about that you learn the tools and how do you apply them or utilize them to your advantage. Eyes. So if you can reflect, eyes obviously will train, for example, is to stop doing sin. But also what the Mashaykh said, the eyes that you use to reflect. So one is inward reflection, which I've been mentioning about not to commit sin. One is the external, you use the external to reflect yourself. So for example, I'll give you one example, is that someone, for example, going through the positive usage of the organs of the eyes, that you train that each time you see something of the dunya, although it's dunya, but you actually translate and interpret it for akhirah sense. So you learn lessons from this, from akhirah, or reminds you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are the eyes you develop when your heart is going on the process of purification. Your ears, you use your ears to listen to good things, like reciting Quran and so on. Using your tongue, obviously, to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, advise someone good, give some nasiha, give some comfort to people as well. Hands and feet, again, obviously use them to do good deeds, good actions, help another Muslim, help another creation. And what is the sign, or what are the signs of the heart that is bereft, heart that is completely dead? He said that all these fruits and food that you have just mentioned, you will perish. You will not see these things in your life. That in itself straight to indication that was something wrong. There's something wrong in my life that it's not there anymore. So he's also said that it's someone who wants to embark upon the journey and the course of purification, or someone maybe they've had ups and downs in life and want to restart. The Mashaykh said that what you should do is do not wait or next day or whenever, a special moment, but start now. Use that first tool and technique of reflection, the way you've gone wrong, and straight away start engaging with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like I said, Allah is ever present. You don't have to wait a certain time or a day or a month or come to the masjid. Whatever you are, in the car, whatever else, in our workplace, that you can start to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, start reflect and invoke Him. Even if you're in a moment of sin that we're doing. So like Mashaykh went even to the extreme level now. Even when you're doing the sin itself, straight away connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Invoke, Wallah, forgive me, I've ended up doing this sin. I know I shouldn't have done it, but I've done it. So they're saying, no, do not delay even that point. That, I've done the sin, I'll wait, next moment I'll feel better because I feel bad now because I've done this action. There's no, even in that moment, turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whilst, you've done sin, you stopped it temporarily because you just remembered Allah. Even at that moment, start going through the process which I mentioned, reflection, using the techniques, and so on. And obviously then there are barriers to actually not to fall victim to again. It is also said that do not be like those who complains that, I can't take medication. What's the point taking medication because I need the cure? And the Mashaykh said that no, you will not get the cure until you've taken the medication. And what we complain is that, I want to cure, medication won't help me because I'm so ill, it's not going to help me, what's the point? They're saying that the cure will come, is the medication, is the zariya, is the means that will bring the cure by fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what they're really saying is, what is this medication? This medication is invoking and turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, using the reflection, like I mentioned, about to introspect yourself. That powerful medication, the powerful medicine is there in front of us all the time, but we don't take it. We look for something else rather. And that's the fallacy of us. It is said that, for example, someone's fallen victim, giving look, now Mashaykh, what they're doing is giving an analogy, an example. There's two examples I can mention now what they said. One of them is that falling into sin, it's like a mother losing a child. And do you ever seen a mother is celebrating or happy or rejoicing or celebrating or going around joyous whilst she knows that my child is lost? No, she'll be, very upset, very what you call it, afraid for the child. She'll be very, in a sorrow state. She'll be in a state of almost like a state of panic. So they said, like, when it comes to sin, we do not think like that. So why are the Mashaykh saying this? He's saying that look, when we use our daily life example, we understand certain things, but we do not apply this when it comes to the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, another example he gave, that very powerful one, is for us to really reflect, so help us to hopefully falling into victim of sin that and displeasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is said that, for example, he said in the normal world, and when we interact with people, if someone, let's say, someone comes to me now and rather than calling me my name, Shalom, call me by like a name which I don't like, using a name of an animal or whatever, I've become really annoyed. I know for a fact I'm not that person. I'm not that being, and I'm not the animal. It's not true. And the person who's saying it, he knows I'm not that. I'll just give an example. I'm not saying they should say, but someone comes in with like an animal that we don't like. You get really annoyed. How dare you call me this or whatever? Yeah. Or, for example, like someone does something and he calls him by that name, or he's a chore or whatever, chorwala. He says, oh, how do you call me that name? I'm not that. Or if he is, he's done it in his life. He did some theft and robbery. Yeah, he's done his time in the prison. They come out, and you see him on the street and say, oh, thief, come here. He say, no, what calling me thief for? Well, he did, he robbed the bank, a few years ago. Yeah, I did, but I've done my time as well, so don't call me that again. So we hate it when someone calls like that. He's saying that, look, we as a Muslim, in the realm of the angels and the realm of the unseen, we all recognized by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we all recognized by what actions we do. He said that, can you imagine if you are known as Zani in the world of angels? You're an adulterer, or you're a fornicator, or you're a gambler, or such whatever habits that we do. How would you feel that you become known by that in the realm of the angels? I mean, just for one, doesn't matter about the realm of the angels, even our own friend circles, our family circles, someone knows and start calling me by that name because of certain bad habits I have. Imagine someone smokes, most people do, and you start calling me, oh, smoker, come here. How do you feel? How dare you call me smoker? Well, you do smoke. Well, then that doesn't matter, I still have a name. So we become annoyed. So you're saying, how is it that, for example, you commit a sin, and God forbid that you become known by that name, by the action that you do. So you should really think about this as well. So it gives you another very powerful analogy as well. So also another thing he said that, the sins and the masiyah and the evil traits that we have, they're really like the snakes and scorpions. And whilst we think about, for example, saving our provisions and wealth for future, so my future I can live and eat, if ever I come across a rainy day, then I've got a saving that I can help myself or help my family, or we store it for the future. Yet, the Mashaykh said that you have actually been storing snakes and scorpions in your heart for years and years and years. And what do you think that will help you? It will rather harm you. He's saying that, have you ever seen someone who actually brought scorpions and snakes in his house to nurture them, to grow them? No, because of the fact that he knows how dangerous it is, how it will harm himself and his family. Yet, sometimes what happens is like some of the, like going back to the, again, like what I mentioned from the book, is that yes, we're not doing the sin anymore, but the love, the attraction of the sin, or of the action of the sin is still there. We've not really flushed it out yet. And obviously that's just one level, and the deeper level of arrogance and so on. Obviously that gets dealt with in the process of purification as well. But they're all like wrong, and they will basically one day will ruin your house, and you'll find yourself that you ended up doing something that you think, oh, I didn't know that's going to be happening in my life. So that they said we should really again reflect and really think about what's happening. I just want to quickly finish off just saying one bit more about this on the topic of reflection. That what the Mashaykh said, that although we do end up sinning and we have ups and downs, but they said like you should never leave the gathering of wisdom and gathering of paradise of the Mashaykh. Sometimes this also comes, oh, I've become so much of a sinner, I've done so many mistakes, I was actually doing quite well in my course, but now I've left all that, or I'm struggling. And so what's the point going to the majlis now, be it Thursday, Monday, whatever. They said, no, these are the gathering of wisdom. It says, fragrant breeze from paradise comes here. And if you really attend with sincerity, you will see that fragrance along you. After you leave the majlis, you'll see the fragrance within you. You'll see the fragrance traveling with you to your homes, in your journeys as well. And they said it's like it's a very powerful analogy is given. He said, like, look, yes, I am not doing well, or I'm struggling in my course, or whatever else. They said that it's like going to the gathering or going to the good places like that. It's like you're an archer. Like, for example, we go to retreat, we archery, we see how poor we are, we even miss the target, let alone getting the bullseye. Because it's like an archer. Maybe that you're shooting arrows, you're missing the target today, but if you keep trying, tomorrow you will hit the target. So saying that coming to the gatherings of the Mashaykh is so powerful that even if you are not, doing well or struggling with your life and your purification course, whatever, if you keep coming, keep that attachment, then one day, inshallah, you will hit the target. So just one more thing, inshallah, like to mention aspect. Again, from the extension or more detailed explanation of this reflection, it is said that we should really now, as part of our daily life, we should plan to have this, what we said in modern words, quality time in the world of the Mashayikh, this idea of secluding and isolating ourselves from the dunya and cutting ourselves. I know it sounds a bit scary for some people, isolating, khalwa, that's scary, how can I leave my wife and children and my job? But really, in our modern times, you can understand in terms of what we say, like have the quality time. We have time for our family, time for our friends, time for work, time for everything else. We also need that me time. We hear this all the time, but we don't really understand. So what they're saying is that you should really adopt this and make it into habit. It doesn't have to be like full one day, are you going to khalwa? One brother told me, are you going to khalwa today, whatever. It's not necessarily you have to, but you find that time of the day. And that if you now really understand why the zikr and muraqabah is given, it should be for that reflection time. The muraqabah we do in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, 10 minutes, is that reflection. Part of the muraqabah we do, for example, in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we do muraqabah and contemplate. Either we also, like we are given a task that we should really think, stop our tongue and think with our heart, really open to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what are you doing there? You're reflecting, and introspecting yourself. How was your day? How was your month? How was your week? Whatever. And really going to untying all these blockages that we have. So what Mashaykh said that, you should have this quality time, your me time, being khalwa, be it in a seclusion. And those who actually do this becomes a habit, they will be honorable by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a quality that not many people can have. But also remember this, I want to leave you with these things that whenever you do sit for this quality time or this me time or khalwa or the seclusion time, decide you should have 3 objectives. Now, yes, we should do ibadah, read Quran, recite Quran, do all the ibadah we do, but we never thought about. But the Mashaykh said that there's actually 3 objectives to reach in your each khalwa. Be it 10-minute khalwa you're doing, be it the time you spend in the masjid, before maghrib or whenever you come in. They said that use the khalwa to really do 3 things. If you do 3 things, that will help you to eradicate many of the issues or problems that we come in our life. And then hopefully, if you do those 3 things, that help us to stop, it help us to reflect. And if you reflect, then help us not to end up committing a sin, minimizing it. Like I said, remember at the beginning, is doing the risk assessment and self-reflection. And then as you do this more and more, you find yourself, you become better at it as well. And you become more quicker at it as well. So what are the 3 things mentioned? So number 1 is, it says, unveiling the cover. Now what does that mean? Cover is symbolic or referring to the sins. So reflecting that, first of all, analyzing what have I done? What have I done? Untying that. Why did I do this? What have I done? Okay, don't hide yourself. Make an excuse, I'm weak, or I made a mistake. Like I said, that in itself, you're hiding it, shying away from the real issue. You said now you open it to yourself. You don't have to sit next to anyone, to your friend or family. No, between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And open yourself, being self-critical. Unveiling or uncovering that cover that you have, this sin that we've done, or the type of sin that we're doing, or the habit. Then number 2, once we've uncovered that and put that into perspective and understand that, or neutralize that, what we should do is, we should now then revitalize our heart. So number 2 objective is, what is this revitalization? Is now, okay, I realize all these mistakes I've been doing, but also I need to find a way to connect myself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and use the situation and the means to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you make a plan how I can do this in your reflection part. So you're revitalizing your heart. You giving that, like I say, oh, I need that boost. Like we feel, so, oh, I need that boost, man. I went to the gathering, yeah. You can do that, Allah will give you the connection. And then number 3, inshallah, if you actually can reach that level, number 3 is, then you actually start to realize the true love, i.e. you start to build this strong relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So those are the 3 objectives we should really work towards. Mashallah, if you are able to sit in a 24-hour khalwa, or 5-minute khalwa, or whatever khalwa, it doesn't have to be in the masjid even. You have that time. For example, I know one brother works, in the car, he's always on the move. Sometimes you guys have a moment, 5-10 minutes stuck in the traffic, for example. Major like incident happen. We got 10 minutes to put the radio on. Let's listen to what's happening on the football score. Or okay, switch everything off. Let's use that time now. So number 3 is really now. Okay, I've done the first 2. What's left? What's left is what we should be doing as a human being, as a Muslim. What we created for is to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and build that relationship and get to know Him, who He is, and worship is obviously part of that. And how can you ever reach that and have this kind of like a wishful thinking if you never actually thought about having it as part of our daily routine? Isn't it? For example, like someone wants to become a champion boxer, he doesn't think that, oh, tomorrow I'm going to wake up and like next year I'm going to become champion boxer. Every single day he goes to a gym, he has that target. He puts Muhammad Ali picture up or whatever. He has that target, I want to be like him, I want to be champion. Although every single day he's not a champion. He doesn't become champion every single day, but he has the mentality that I'm a champion every single day. So what I'm saying is that we want to recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, build that strong relationship, but we shouldn't be a wishful thinking and say, oh, it's going to happen to me next year, or it's going to happen to me 2 years down the line. Yeah, it's going to happen, but they need to think when it's going to start. And this starts at the time we actually build upon it, work on it every day, for example. But at least if you can manage to the first 2, i.e. uncovering our cover and re-establishing our heart, then that in itself is a good achievement as well. So they said that this will help us to really analyze and improve the quality of the ibadah we do, and the zikr we do, and the muraqabah we do, or any good thing we do. A very powerful example, they said, it's like they said example of someone who doing ibadah but inattentive, is not being much attention, he doesn't have any much focus on it. It's like you're giving gift to a king. Ibadah is like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the king. Ibadah is like a gift from us, as an example. But you give in 100 boxes of gifts, but they're all empty inside. Any king who receives those empty boxes, rather than giving, become happy with it, he'll be more annoyed. In fact, he might even punish you. He'll say, you're taking me for a ride. Is that a joke? Why are you giving me 100 boxes, but they're empty, nothing in there? You're wasting my time, wasting my space, and everything else. I'm just talking about normal understanding, how we would understand. Well, obviously, Allah is the most merciful. So he's saying that it's better that you give him only a small piece of ruby or a diamond to a king, which king will appreciate for that, and he will favor you in return. So small amount of ibadah we do, but full of reflection and thought, and having the presence of Allah subhanahu in mind is far better. And just one final thought, I want to say that obviously we know there's outer purification and inner purification. Outer purification we know, for example, like if you become major impurity, you can't read namaz, you can't touch Quran, you can do tawaf until you do ghusl and so on. There's also inner purification. Inner purification is really the close proximity, the closeness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for example, like really understanding and really immersing yourself in the word of the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Quran, for example. Now, why do we have the body of this? Body have this because we have inner impurity. That's why you don't really have feel this close proximity, the closeness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our life, and we have no connection with the Quran of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the Quran. And the final thing my Shaykh said is really powerful thing. I'm not going to mention anything else apart from this. He said we should really think that those whose heart have been chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be with Him is an worthy heart. Those who is not chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who does not remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is really left for the creation, is not a worthy heart. So now think that is my heart is worthy enough or have I been blessed? Because really, if my heart is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then his heart is a worthy heart. And his Allah ta'ala chose my heart out of all. And if he does not, then that's why my heart is engaged in dunya all the time. Inshallah, I'll leave it for now. Inshallah, other things, inshallah, will continue if Allah ta'ala ever permits and allows us to continue in the future. So if I've said anything wrong, obviously a mistake or any misunderstanding is from myself, Allah forgive me for that. Any good thing I said is from all of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But just for clarification's sake, what I've said, if you have any questions, then please do ask. Okay, then very quickly, for my own reflection and recall, so that I remember as well. If I ask Brother Naveed, if I mentioned, what is the lesson we learn from in terms of how to deal with the Tawbah aspect? What are the two things we should do to ensure that we don't fall victim to sins and so on? So, for example, like number one is we shouldn't leave calling and invoking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no matter what state we're in. Use that very moment. And number two is, whilst we're doing that, we should reflect. Remember, I give an example of investigation. Because we understand all these modern terms and we hear it on the news, or we're at work, maybe we have a certain position at work as well and everything else. We say something like, oh, okay, we'll investigate this, report it, yeah? So we should been doing this, use those same skill by ourselves in terms of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a very easy thing to do. And obviously that's part of the reason why we do muraqabah 10 minutes. Now you can see why it's so important. Like they say, from the first till you come to the purification court, they say the zikr is given and the muraqabah is given. It's not necessarily for reward. Inshallah, you'll get your reward, but really for your purification. And so now if you understand some of the reason behind it is because these things. Obviously on the first day we're not told about these things. For example, we're just learning to walk or learning to talk. We don't want to bombard our mind with all these things. But really, now we understand in a certain level, maybe on what to do GCSE or A-level level, we should really understand these things, why it's there and how to utilize for our advantage. So that's one. And very quickly, so the reflection and seclusion is very important and very powerful tool. We should all inbuilt this in our life. No matter be it 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half a day, very frequently. And so then, anyone please quickly mention what are the three things we should really look out for to achieve in any seclusion? Anyone? 3 objectives mentioned. So remember, if you sit in I'tikaf, Ramadan is coming now, you should always know that the 3 objectives to reach from this I'tikaf, or this khalwa I'm doing, or this spending time I'm doing path Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in masjid, or in my car, for example. Today this is my khalwa now because I don't have time to go masjid today. I'm so busy at work, I'm doing long shift and then go home and tired to sleep. This is the only time I'm going to do my zikr, do my muraqabah, this is my reflection. So quickly you can go through what are the 3 things I want to achieve here. But there Iskandar mentioned, mashallah, my shaykh's name, but the Iskandar. Did you remember the first one? Yeah, mashallah, unveiling the cover. So really, any mistakes, anything we've done, should reflect upon that and why this happened. So number 2, very quickly. Number 2 is revitalizing the heart. So one thing is like in a land, we actually purged or purified the land for all the shrubs and all the unwanted weed in the land. So we purified, our land is now fertile. We start now doing the farming. We're doing the farming on the land and plowing it. So that's revitalizing the heart of the land. I start to now connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And number 3 is then, inshallah, once you're already there, then how to build the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Recognizing the love, His love, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Really, inshallah. Okay, jazakallah.